Guys and gals of YouTube, welcome back to another video. Today we're checking out Dennis Jr., the brand new constructor, the mythic that we just got through the quest line. Finally, some content to sink our teeth into. But is he good? Should you level him up? And what does he actually bring to the fight? Well, he's another hero with Rockin' Riff, the new perk that we have that increases your damage and your melee attack speed 50 and 32% respectively. In my opinion, this Rockin' Riff perk is better on melee characters, ninjas, Paleo Luna, this guy, because you get both buffs, but it's still not bad regardless. Bringing 50% damage, especially during the defense phase, is not something to scoff at. It's a lot of damage. It definitely increases tenfold over like assault damage by 17%. And like I said, if you bring battle beat and you're during the defense phase, and as long as you put up some gas traps, you'll be all right. Now what Dennis Jr. does exactly is axe eliminations have a 37% chance to grant it. The thing is, this is our first axe hero, technically. Our first mate. He's not even an axe hero, but you would use axes with him. And I gotta say, it's pretty nuts. Using a certain axe and the build like this, which we'll go over in a minute, I was hitting like a truck with battle beat, Rockin' Riff, all that stuff going off. 230,000 K a swing is what I was getting. It was kind of insane. I really enjoyed the character. However, the actual anything besides the defense phase isn't that great. He only has Bull Rush for any form of mobility. He has Turret and Going Constructor, which are not the best perks in the game. And during the defense phase, when you are constantly healing through Survivalist with the eliminations with your trap, Battle Beat with your traps, constantly healing from totally rocking out. Once that kicks in, you get a heal. You get a heal from this, bringing down the house. Battle Beat, you constantly have these perks activated. He does a lot of damage. He's very tanky. He has a lot of survivability. Another cool thing here, our axes are one of the hardest hitting weapons in the game. Per hit, damage per hit. Not really high on DPS because most of them are very slow, but they hit very hard. Since we have a 160 crit rating here, there's an axe in the game called the Argon Axe with a 30% base chance to crit. So as you know from the last video, this actually gives you 57 fully perked up or fully stacked for at least 1 second, plus the 30% from the Argon Axe at base, 50, 60, 70, 80. We're looking at 87% chance to crit minus diminishing returns. So you can roll your axe differently than you normally would. However, if you do choose to do that, it's not going to be good except when these perks are all going off at the same time. With that in mind, Corrosive Strikes, melee critical hits apply a 30% snare and 37% damage dealt each second for 3 seconds. If you're hitting for 233,000 damage, and that's a crit, and you're at 87% crit chance, you have to understand how much that hits for. The ticks are like 100K for 3 seconds. Basically what ends up happening is if you're fighting a blaster and you get that crit, you can literally walk away. He's going to die from the affliction, from the Corrosive Strikes. It's really nuts because axes hit so hard. And lastly, we're gonna bring Assassination. This is the build that you're going to be seeing footage of. I had a lot of fun with it. It was very, very successful. You have a ton of extra damage here. This is one of the highest damaging abilities in the game. In fact, there might be something said for playing this character with totally rocking out, battle beat, and bring down the house. We might check that out a little later, but let's go and take a look at the axes that I leveled up and are using for this build. I have 3 of them that I was trying out. Number 1, we have the Argon Axe. This is from the Neon set. I have it as energy, attack speed, movement speed, crit damage, and damage to slowed and snared. The reason it's like this is because, again, axes are super slow. Once this kicks in, along with Rockin' Riff, you're at a 62% attack speed buff, which is very helpful for a slow swinging axe. We do not need a crit chance here because, as I said, its base is super high at 30%, plus rockin' or totally rocking out, which will give you 87 minus diminishing returns. This, out of all the axes I leveled up, is my favorite one to use. Another one that I did level up though is the Wicked Wind. I don't really need this perk, it's just a utility perk, and I'm starting to run out of perk up. But we have attack speed, energy, damage, and crit damage. This one's 6th perk is eliminating 5 enemies with this weapon within 15 seconds, regenerates 25% of your shield. I didn't really notice this going off too much, but it can definitely help you survive some attacks. Its heavy attack is a whirlwind, and it does do a lot of damage on multiple hits, especially with Rock and Riff fully stacked up. The last one I leveled up was the Untitled Slicer. This weapon, I'm going to tell you not to level it. I thought it was one of the better axes in the game. It's a very good axe if you want to use axes on Paleo Luna. You would turn this into an attack speed if you can, and use it on Paleo Luna. Otherwise, I'm not too sure about this axe. It doesn't hit hard at all. Even with a build like this, with the crit damage and the extra boost to crit chance, it's not very good. I definitely would go with the Argon Axe. If you're going to be hitting hard, you might as well hit as hard as you can. So as you see, as we loaded into this mission, it is a 140 retrieve for the data, pretty high up there. And you're gonna see real quick, let me just find some enemies, how underwhelming he seems at the start of the game. Without the Rock and Riff buff, he really doesn't do too much. Bees, blasters, and the cowboy guys, are they still aliens? Really do a number on him, even with survivalist. But as soon as you get the Rock and Riff perk in, as you can see, it kicked in right there, we start doing an incredible amount of damage. With a 30% crit chance, let's see if we can catch it. We're at 51.5 without a crit chance roll on this weapon. Let's see if we can find a couple more enemies, and then we'll go over to the defense. Let's see also if we can find a smasher. All right, we have found a smasher. Let's try to get our perk up. Hopefully we can get the buff off of one of these guys. Like I said, here you go. Without the buffs on, it's very, very underwhelming. But as soon as those buffs kick in, and especially during the defense phase, it's absolutely ridiculous. Hopefully we'll get it from this last axe elimination here, and I'll be able to show you guys. I'm trying to kite the smasher around. All right, we just got it. Now watch, look at these numbers. We're not going to have it too long, but as you can see, the impact is crazy high, and I think we lost the buff. But for the second there, we definitely were crushing this smasher. Level 140 endgame Twine Peaks. Now, what I did here is I am playing with a bunch of friends this time, and we built some incredible tunnels. Everything is ready to go, but all of the traps are mine. And what that allows me to do, just to show off this build, it's not 100% necessary. It allows me to have this perk activated all the time because it works on traps as well. So now, as you'll see, these blue lines around me will constantly be there. As long as enemies are falling into my tunnel, we will have that perk up, and it really increases the attack speed. Let's see what we can do here. I mean, what was that, a one-shot? I believe that was close to a one-shot. That was a one-shot right there. 247,000 damage per swing. You're getting about 3 swings per second with an incredibly high impact of 2,294 for a melee weapon. As you can see, that's pretty high. That's hammer levels of impact. So we're constantly swinging, constantly healing because of totally rocking out. We have survivalists in the build, and it just allows you to crush everything. It's very similar to having something like a Paleo Luna in your build, or the coconuts. The healing combined with survivalist, it really does give you a lot. You do need to perk it or proc it every time. As you can see, my health is going up right now. I'm not doing anything. I'm not killing much of anything. So we have survivalist and the beat going at the same time. Axes also hit multiple targets, so you can really clear up a lot of smaller guys, bigger guys. I'm waiting. Hopefully we'll get a smasher here in a few seconds, and I'll really be able to tear him down. Still have the perk going as well, like we should, allowing us to just do crazy damage. You see that tick for 107k? Perk is still going. Now, here's the thing about this. You don't have to use this character. You can use him in support, but as he's a new mythic, I definitely wanted to showcase him himself. All of the rockin' beats are more support style buffs to the characters, especially with totally rocking out the new team perk, allowing you to get some crazy crit chance, really high damage. There's just not enough enemies coming in here. This is kind of nuts. Let's see what our crit chance is. 85.5%. 85.5% crit chance. I'm gonna actually tell my team. Wow, that's crazy on the Argon Axe. Now, like I said, you might not really have to play this character. I honestly think bringing in like a Corrosive Strikes ninja might be the play here, and I think we're gonna check that out on another build. I don't think I've ever made a video for her, so I definitely do want to check that out. I'm waiting for a smasher or a mini boss to come on in. We're on the propane part right here. Now we're at a 40% extra damage boost, 69,000 DPS, 124,000. I mean, the numbers are kind of insane. They really are. I don't really want to go into my tunnels right now to kill things because of the propanes that have just spawned. Hopefully we get something big here soon. Especially for mini boss killing. Mini boss killing, this build is just gross. Probably on par with Paleo Luna, but you do lose out on some of the survivability. Again, the totally rocking out perk is just one of, it's probably the best damage per second DPS damage team perk you can bring with any character. That's what I really like about it. You can bring it on any character. You want to go hammer constructor, you go hammer constructor, and you are fine. You're good to go. Nothing's gonna happen to you. You still get that crit chance. You still get that attack speed. And then, like I said, once it kicks in, man, you are swinging. Look at this. Propane here. Let's see if we can kill him in time. I think we just one-shot him too. It's definitely a lot of fun to use. The character itself is really cool looking, in my opinion. But I'm a bit older, so he really reminds me of like the 80s band members Slash, you know, stuff like that. And that's really it, guys. That is Dennis the Menace, the brand new mythic constructor we have. Should you get him? Absolutely, because he unlocks totally rocking out. The character himself is a lot of fun to use and can create a lot of havoc and damage, as you saw. The mission that we loaded into originally just had a bunch of little enemies and no smashers. The next mission was a flinger and lobber wave, so I threw in some of older footage, older being I took it last night instead of this morning, so I hope you guys can see the potential he has. There probably are better builds, and we might do a Corrosive Strikes build. We're also going to be covering the spear, the trap, and the shotgun, all coming soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to support the channel in any way, you can always use creator code OOTikTak00 when you're buying all of your Battle Royale V-Bucks. And lastly, we stream about 5 days a week. In fact, if you're watching this video right now, we should be live over at twitch.tv/Roundedtiktak. We would love to have you stop by, become part of the pack, part of the family. I will see you guys on the next video. Tiktak out.